Hello, and welcome to Unexplained Possibilities Podcast. I'm your host, Melvin the Crimson Taurus, and two disappointing things just happened. One, I'm late. Oops, sorry guys. We'll blame it on Mercury and being in retrograde once again, and hopefully we can kick it in the balls. And the second thing I'm disappointed about is Niyama. She couldn't be here tonight, even though this was her show, technically. She's trying to get an edumacation, filling up her brains. And I guess we can forgive her for that. So, Nima, you'll catch the replay. Wish you were here over there trying to get smart on us. But as you guys already know, whenever I'm live for a podcast, I am never alone, and tonight is no exception. Joining me tonight is a woman who not only talks that magic talk, but adds in a little philosophy, reality, and some good old-fashioned psychology. If you hang out and chat, then it's no doubt you've seen her around. Please welcome the psychological dark witch of the occult herself, and that's the title I'm giving her, Scarlett Bales.
Hi, that was quite the intro.
Oh, yes, I pride myself on the intros.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very happy to be here. I always love sitting down and having chats and seeing what comes up in conversation.
Yeah, so hopefully we can have a good one tonight, despite the technical issues.
Well, it's Mercury retrograde, so
And like I said, it needs to get kicked in the balls.
it
But
has its place, just like everything else, right? You just have to understand how to flow with the current rather than try to be obstinate towards it.
I still rather kick it in the balls, but we will go with that.
Okay, we will go with that.
But yeah, thank you guys for joining. There's so many of you in here. Good Lord. I wasn't expecting this many so much. And real quick, someone just asked if I speak to Rose. And yes, I do speak to Rose. We are very, very good friends. You might not know this, Scarlett, but Rose was my first co-host,
Mm-hmm.
and Unexplained Possibilities was actually her idea. And she's all the way in Australia, so
Oh,
she had to hang things up. She wanted to start a family, and she has two babies. So
aw.
yeah,
Well, maybe sometime down the road, the paths will connect again.
yeah. Well, she pops on every blue moon. So
Good, good.
so Scarlett, who the heck are you?
Okay. So I don't know. The wife of Nate Bales, um, person in the occult, a witch. I don't know, a mother, a therapist, a nurse practitioner. There's many hats that I wear. Black magician. I mean, what part of which mask do you want me to don to tell you about that part of me?
Well, I'm I'm curious about the black magician and therapist part because
Oh,
this is my crazy mind at work, but I'm over here thinking, all right, we're gonna fix your problems, and if you don't get in check, if you don't get right, I'm gonna put a spell on you.
oh my
So
goodness.
well, that's
It's
my
like the drill
imagination.
sergeant witch.
Hey, that'll get someone in shape. Like just bibbity bobbity boom, boom.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess that everybody's belief structure, spirituality, it's a big part of themselves that kind of just feeds into everything else that they do. But I think that I keep them kind of separate, but not. I know a lot of people have told me that they feel that I'm unique in the sense that being related, I mean, I'm sorry, related, being involved in the metaphysics or occult practices, that it makes me unique because I may not, think that they're schizophrenic or in a psychosis or something like that if they tell me about their communications with their, whatever it is that they're working with. But I guess it's more along the lines how people just don't feel comfortable opening up about working in the left-hand path, because it's a path that's seen as forbidden, and it's seen as forbidden because it's unknown and has been demonized. And I guess I do have that part on my side. I wish that we could have more people in the psychological field that didn't think or feel that way. But I think that there's a difference too in communicating with spirits and being in psychosis. I understand why people would be afraid, but I would hope that they could find a psychiatrist at least, or a primary care physician, that could understand that they have a different set of beliefs. They believe in the unknown, they believe in the supernatural, and that you're not having these delusions, or you're not having this psychosis that's in a harmful way. Most of the time when people are in a psychosis, it's usually self-harming or of a destructive nature, an extremely destructive nature. So I think that's a lot of the confusion. Now, I can understand it, because I know that when I was doing my psychological evaluation, when I was getting medically retired from the Army, when he did ask me, do I hear or see things that other people don't? Or, yeah, I said no. And but obviously I have. But the same thought went through my mind. It was like, he's going to tell me I'm schizophrenic, but there's a criteria. There's a lot more to it. So I hope that maybe people could feel a little bit more comfortable about being able to speak with their providers about their spiritual beliefs. They don't have to go into detail, but I think saying that you're into witchcraft, or you're into metaphysical spiritual practices, I think is generally enough to give them an idea where they might go, oh, do you believe in supernatural stuff? Yes, of course I do. Nobody really needs to know what you're practicing, what you're doing with. Now, as far as a therapist goes, I mean, unless it's pertinent to your trauma, I guess there are ways around that as well. I would hope that people would be able to find a therapist that they can identify enough with and feel comfortable enough with, to have that proper therapeutic alliance, that if they did tell them that they practice magic and that they sat and mediated with Lilith or whoever, that it wouldn't be immediately looked at as something evil or bad or misguided. I think the intentions of what's happening with any entity that you're working with is what really needs to be evaluated. It's more along the lines of looking at the behavior, the themes, rather than taking the content at full force. Does that make sense?
It makes sense to me. Sometimes you have to know when to just shut up. That's what I'm boiling it down to.
You have to know when to be silent.
Yeah. See, you say
Right?
it so much better. This is how I know you're a professional. I'll just say, shut up.
No, but it's the same thing. But that's the rule. Like that's the rule. Like the left-hand path is like know when to be silent or whatever. But there's a reason why that it's always been a path that has been brought down by word of mouth and like folk. Because it's not something through time that we've seen in the history that could be freely and openly talked about or expressed. And I think that we have that ability now, whether people like it or not. I have a bunch of stuff on my lawn that indicates that I'm not Christian. Like I have a flamingo, like one of those plastic, you normally would get a plastic pink flamingo, but mine is just bones. Like it's just a plastic flamingo, but it's just bones. And I have like orbs and stuff and little fairy houses or whatever, and I've got like what do you mean, or which way, indicating that we live Halloween and magical. But we have like Mormons just living right next to us, but we all get along, and that's the way it should be. Just accepting people for who they are.
I,
And
I mean,
that's the way it should be in any therapy or any healthcare situation. I realize that it's not always like that, you know,
yeah,
but when you can control it, yeah, sorry.
and that's actually one of the biggest problems with society in general is we all want to, no, I say we, but I don't mean we all, but we do have a habit as humans on putting our beliefs on someone else. It has to be this way, and this is the only way, and you're devil worshippers, and you're gonna burn. Baby Jesus save you, you know, all that nonsense. And you mentioned something too about secrecy, and this is going to take us into this because the occult is full of secrets, some good, some not so good, and it is something that is rooted in the very base and foundation of it. But keeping so many secrets, do you feel that it can actually start to deteriorate someone mentally? Because, you know, you can't share this with this person, but you have this information here, but you can't share that. And then, you know, you got to keep your craft to yourself because they didn't earn this knowledge. Like, do you think that could like just mentally break someone?
Well, I would ask first why they aren't able to share that knowledge. Is it that they feel like they can't share the knowledge? Is it the entity that's telling them that they can't share the knowledge? And what would happen if they did share the knowledge, or is it the person? So why do they not want to share the knowledge? What's the reason behind it? Do you know? Or is it just what you're seeing?
It's just partially what I'm seeing. And, you know, so a bit of observation. And then sometimes it's a rule, you know, stating that you can't share with outsiders. They wouldn't understand that type of thing, which I get that. You know, people are rarely going to
Definitely.
understand, you know, why are you walking barefoot, naked at 2 a.m. or something? You know, you get
Absolutely.
looks.
Now,
But
and you're right. No, you're absolutely no. Okay, so on one side of it, you have people that don't want to share knowledge because they feel that they have something that everybody else doesn't, and that they're going to use it to their advantage for monetary or material gain. Then, on the other hand, you have people that won't share information because it's believed in the spiritual practice that you have to get to a certain initiated level in order to be able to fully understand and put to practical use the skill or whatever part of the craft it is that you're learning to use. In other words, if you learned it too soon, it would just kind of fly over your head. It would be wasted time. So maybe it's a structure issue. You have other people that don't want to share the information just basically because they're lying and they don't have any information. They're pretending. And then some people don't want to share the information because they're afraid that people are going to think they're fucking crazy. Now, with this last part, this is kind of going back to what we were saying before, where you have to kind of pick and choose what you tell people. I can remember when Nate first came out with his site, and when he published it, it was like a feeling that went all over my body because I was like, we just went public. Everybody who knows us can look us up and see that we're black magicians or that we work with these forces. And how would that look? I've heard stories like the godmother of my children. She has gone, her kids went through school as Wiccan or whatever, witches, and their friends put them in a garbage can and started pouring gasoline on them. They're going to set them on fire. And she caught that. She heard him screaming and she went out and saw that, right? All because he was not Christian. He was a witch. So yeah, there are still some instances. There's places in this country you can't go. You can't talk about this stuff. You do need to keep it hidden, and it's for safety. So in reality, you just have to be smart with it. It's hard too because people want to live out of the closet, and I think you should. And if it makes you happy, then live authentically. But there are some aspects to it that you probably are going to have to keep secret. And, that's up to the person to decide whether or not they're ready or willing to take whatever consequence that comes, right? And that's, at this point for me, I was very proud of my husband when he came out. It was just a little scary in the moment because I was like, what does this mean? And so it takes me a little bit longer to kind of adjust to things. So in that adjustment though, it was not that I was ashamed of it. It was more along some trauma that I had about what I went through when I came out and renounced the Roman Catholic Church and dedicated myself to a path of witchcraft, and how that went down for years and years and years with my parents. So that I guess it just triggered that a little bit, but you just have to make that decision on what you're comfortable with doing, and don't feel pressured to live your life quietly or to live your life loudly. Just as long as you feel comfortable and it serves you the way it should, and that you're doing it because that's what your need is, not somebody else's.
You guys hear that? That's very important what she said. And this also means I am now going to be a full-on nudist. So
Yes, do it. I love nude resorts. They're so much fun.
well, this went places.
Yes, I know. There's a hell places. I love it. It's so freeing. I was looking into like seeing if I could buy a house like at a nudist like 24 hours, right? I was so excited about it, but I have kids, and even though they let kids live there, I just was like, no, I can't go there. It just feels weird, and it just don't.
Yeah, that talks come up.
Yeah.
You don't need that.
Right. And I mean, places like that are very, very, very securely vetted with background checks and stuff like that. But I just still, but nudist resorts are still fun. Okay. For adults only.
Adults. I hate to admit this, but I actually have a friend. Well, excuse me, not necessarily a friend, but an acquaintance who tried to get me to go to a resort. And it's like, oh, you're going to love it, Melvin. You got to do it. It's free and it's amazing. It's like, do you know who I am? I am the biggest prude in California. I'm fine. Just send me some lemonade.
So then you're never,
no, no, I'm just, no.
Like going to say, go to hedonism. I went to hedonism one year for a honeymoon in one of my marriages. And it was very fun. I went swimming in the ocean naked. It was great.
Oh, heck no. That's too cold. No.
Cold. It was warm. It was Jamaica. Are you kidding me?
I've never been to Jamaica, so you got to forgive me for not knowing that. But still, no. No. But that feels like it would be a very freeing and healing experience. And,
it can be,
And this is actually going to take us to a place, something that you mentioned on the Malice experience. Shout out to Mystic, who's actually in the chat right now, from Malice Experience to Pondering Pagans. And
the chat thing.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm barely paying attention to it. Oh, and Nate Bales is also in the chat. So shout out to Nate.
Nay.
Ooh, did you hear that? Nay.
Nay. It's my daddy. That's my baby.
Wait, what?
No, not like that. Not my biological. He's my daddy Dom. He's my daddy.
Ooh, Nate. Scarlett's over here.
We have a different dynamic probably.
Hey, whatever floats your boat, man.
So
I'm gonna start calling you Daddy too, Daddy Nate.
No, you're not. Daddy? No, you're
not. But on the Malice experience, you did mention healing and how working with magic, perhaps even spirit, can help heal you. How does that work? Like, is it just from an empowering thing and confidence building?
Some of it is, because it's giving you back control. But the biggest thing that it does is it creates an attachment security. It repairs an attachment, because basically when you're getting into witchcraft, well, I mean, and I guess I'm going to assume that people that got into it like I did, because I guess there's some people that get into magic, right? And it's not therapeutic. I don't know. I guess, sorry. My ADHD makes me think about everybody. But when I got into it, it was a dedication to Pan and Diana. So that was like the mother moon and then the father sun. And so when you're doing these rituals and you're dedicating yourself and you're giving offerings and you're having communion, you're doing spells, they're coming to, you're creating this relationship. It's almost like creating your mythic parents. And you're creating this relationship with these two entities and they are responding. And I think to have a spirit respond to you in a way that is noticeable, that you cannot explain away, is just the validation that they're hearing you and that everything that you're doing and everything that you're feeling, it's validation for that and that it's real. And it is incredibly healing to feel like you have somebody that loves you and that wants to see you improve and heal and wants to empower you, and somebody who's got your back, somebody to protect you. You're gaining all this from that practice because of that dedication and that relationship that you're forming with these entities. Now, on the other side of that, you see a lot of people that aren't doing the basics and they're just coming in and they're just starting with demonics straight off the bat, evoking demonics. And I can't say how healing or that would be, because I know that the lessons that I've learned from the witchcraft entities are different from the lessons and how I've learned them from the demonic entities. And in my opinion, I would not want to be trauma healing with demonic entities with the way that they teach their lessons and have you go through the steps. I mean, I guess there is some sense of healing because it's like a bigger power, but I feel if you don't have the basics of working with maybe a gentler type of entity first, then it can be very jarring, the experience, I guess you can say. Like Belial, for instance. Belial is known, he's like a general. He's very tough, and he doesn't like you usually on the first couple of meets because he's very judgmental about your worth and in the way that he wants to see what your dedication is. But his work would require a very, very dark night of the soul. In fact, it's like a suicidal feeling when you work with Belial deeply like that. It's very difficult. And so if somebody's trying to trauma heal, that may not be the right entity to go through. It might be better to do like Marbus or Raphael or even Michael. You know, if you're feeling like very revengeful or something like that, I would say even Michael, because he's all about justice. And so there is a divine right. And when somebody gets abused or taken advantage of like that, I would think that's a right that an angel could get behind if he's protecting humanity, which is one of the things that he's supposed to do, right? Just kind of help love the people because Jesus loves the people or something. I don't know.
Um,
I'm not Christian, so I'm just trying to
yeah,
give it some
kinda. I
context.
actually have a theory in regards to Archangel Michael and angels in general. It's for
Yeah.
another show, but here's a teaser, guys. What if I told you Michael is dead? There's the teaser. So get everyone thinking about that. But
What would give you that impression?
no, not saying it's a teaser.
Sorry. You have me interested, damn it.
Exactly. That's the point. but I am happy you brought being a little bit hesitant with working with perhaps something a little bit more demonic and everything, because I'm of the belief that you can't exactly go into this without being mentally prepped, or otherwise I think it can destroy you. Even
Yeah,
if it's for
it can.
healing purposes, I think a couple of things could happen. One is it could be an overcompensation, meaning that you feel powerful and you start thinking you're something you're not. and then it's like I'm invulnerable. And then reality hits you, and you might go way past where you started. Back down from wherever you started, and it's like I was
Yeah.
supposed to be the
It's like giving a
and
samurai sword to a 4-year-old to go out and play with the rest of the kids. You know what I'm saying? It's like you'll get the information, you'll get what you want, but are you ready to receive it? That's the biggest thing. And that's why when people try to go that route, because let's be honest, demonic route is quicker. It's a straight path. It will plow out anything in your life that is in the way. They will shift the cups in your favor. You will get it. But healing is not linear. It's not a straight path, and that's why you have to be gentle with it. You have to take it slowly, and you should do it with somebody that's trained to do it.
and I also feel that, like you pretty much just said, you'll get what you want, but at what cost? Because I do believe that sometimes we have to be broken down and then built back up. You have to see your
Absolutely.
weaknesses in order to strengthen them.
That's correct.
And not everyone can handle that, especially if you're going into it because you think I'm going to be fixed, I'm going to have confidence and this and that. Well, you very well may get that, but it's not happening right away.
Mm.
And it's just I do think that people have to understand that and not get sucked into what they see on TV or YouTube or something like that. And that is also, don't get sucked into the theatrics of ritual work or spell work and everything. And why do you think it's so much theatrics involved in the occult?
It's the psychopomp. It's all that's what it takes to get you into the groove, man. That's what takes you to get into the space where you got to go to connect with that part that can take you into the crossroads. Oh man, the theatrics of it is the fun part.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the part where you get to bring yourself down those steps of the unconscious, like into whatever it is that you need to transform into, so that you can move through and just speak to the spirits. I love the theatrics. Do I use it all the time? No. But it's absolutely necessary, I think, for people to learn their basics, because it really gives you that moment to really understand like a tradition, but you soon, like, it gets so repetitive. And that's really the lesson that you learn from this is the repetitiveness, it's the dedication, it's the practice of doing full moon rituals or doing the setup and the breakdown for the spells. It all has a purpose. You are building yourself up to get into the space, and then you're putting down that ritual, and then when you're breaking everything down, you're unattaching. And so the process, it needs to be longer, because there's nobody that can just learn a thing. Everybody has to crawl, then they walk, and then they can run, and then they can master. And when you do a ritual over and over and over again, it teaches you in your mind to enter that space, to do the work, and to stay in the proper space while you're doing the work, and to not come out of it until you are breaking down. That's also another important lesson, is how to stay in that like zone where you are breaking the crossroads, where you are breaking that veil and having that communication. That takes practice that's why you got to meditate. That's why you got to practice trance work, because it takes practice to stay in that area where you need to be for long periods of time, especially even like while you're doing other things. The ritual ends up becoming the meditation. The setting up now becomes easier, and the mind instantly falls into the space. And then you're doing the ritual, which you don't have to remember. You know the words, you know the movements, you've done it so many times that now that becomes the ritual. And then all of a sudden, boom, now you're reaching into deeper states to where you're actually manifesting, or what you're perceiving as a manifestation of the goddess or the god himself now presenting themselves before you. So that is the importance of the basics. Because if you just try to go from meditation to just evoking a demon through a sigil, I promise you that it's not going to feel as good as if you were to take the time and find one witchcraft book from Llewellyn or something like that that just has a basic procedure in it. I would recommend Green Witchcraft. That's who but I'm a Taurus, so
Oh,
Green Witchcraft is a great book.
Taurus Unite.
I love her. And you do these rituals over and over and over, and you'll see it's just like yoga too.
Ugh.
After a while, but I mean, after a while, the movement becomes the meditation. When you've done it for so long and your body adjusts and it knows what to expect, and you end up reaching deeper levels of awareness of the body, and the movements as you push deeper into it is what actually becomes the meditation, and you get this release throughout your body. And it's the same thing with magic. It's all about preparation. It's all about being invested and dedicated to something, and it's about care and loving something and caring enough that things are set up correctly, that and it's also, you learn respect, you learn trust for yourself, and you learn trust in an entity to show up for you, and you create a relationship, a healthy relationship, where you have the like perception that this entity wants to see you blossom and grow into the magical being that you are. This is how all the books are written to be to be understood. And so you create this relationship, and so the ritual itself, setting up and down and everything like that, becomes this sacred home and space where you can convene with this entity in like love and trust and attachment. And it's just a beautiful experience. And I feel bad if there's people out there that haven't had the chance to experience that through ritual and all the psychopomp that comes with it.
Well, you know what? I will say this. They might experience it in a different way. Because number one, I have to get this out. I hate yoga. I've been doing it for so long. I hate it. Okay, but anyway, away from that, they might experience it in a different way. And I have to give credit to Mystic for this one, because when birthdays come around, we celebrate ourselves. And in a way,
Mhm.
that is a ritual, giving ourselves that love, having people, hopefully having people around us that actually like us, give us that love and that power and that energy, and you feel special and elevated.
Mm.
And I think sometimes if we could get that type of feeling without necessarily working in the occult or ritual magic per se to invoke whatever deity, but we can empower ourselves and get that same feeling going. It's just, we have to look at ourselves as special, not in the sense of I'm better than you, but special in the sense of I am a spiritual being. I have understanding. I have wisdom. I can have this power, etc., etc., not just on one day, but every
Right.
day. And that
Mm-hmm.
takes time and training, but I think you could
Absolutely.
get the same results.
Mm-hmm. I do agree. I mean, it's different for everyone, right? I'm
Mhm.
speaking on my own experience, of
Yeah.
course. I'm not, I can't say this is how you would receive it, or that's how your experience was connecting. That's what happened to me, and that's what witchcraft brought for me. And I was getting, which I know now are kundalini risings, like these. They were just so random. It would be just, I would be like taking the garbage out, and all of a sudden I'm like, had this euphoric effect happening all of a sudden. And it would always be like a day or two after I've done a full moon ritual and stuff. So something was changing, something was happening, something was healing. And I think a lot of that is because witchcraft really helps us to be comfortable and confident in ourselves and realize that we are special people. Not everybody can talk to spirits like we do, see spirits, or, whatever our experiences are. So if you're doing magic and you're seeing results from it, then you're very special because you're tapping into something that not a whole lot of people can. I don't know how many people actually are in the world, like what percentage it would be, but it's probably, I don't know, it can't be more than 10%, right? I mean, how many people you think in the world are special people that could talk to spirits, do ritual, and they say everybody can do it, but
Well, that's the thing. Everyone can do it, but not
not
everyone
everybody
does
does.
it.
Right.
And I would say it's a very small percentage. And part of that is because, and it's kind of like what we were talking about before we started, it's too much technology.
Yeah.
And we've gotten away from our roots and understanding, and we're so focused on the tech. And, and I can't get upset or blame anyone for this, but we're trying to live. We
Yeah.
don't necessarily have time to figure out how to do this properly, or that when you got to make $1 so you could pay the freaking electric bill or something.
Mm-hmm.
So it's tough. Although saying that, if you are able to take even just one day out and unplug from everything and just go out, even if it's to a park, to walk a little bit barefoot in the grass and just say thank
Mm,
you, like let me embrace this energy, I think that would, oh my gosh, it would help so much. It would be a difference.
absolutely. And just like see yourself just downloading all the shit back into the ground because she will take it and she will make it into some form of life. That's what it's all about. The
So
grounding.
here's a weird one for you. How would you tell this to someone who might be a client of yours who is skeptic and they don't believe in any of this, but you want to help them because, evidently you took them on to help them? What do you do there?
I take them on my own meditation. So my clients do it, but they may or may not know what they're doing exactly. They just know that it makes them feel better. So I do a grounding with my clients, and I have when they relax, I guide them through relaxing their body, and then I have them grow roots from the bottom of the feet into the ground, and then it comes up and it like intertwines with Mother Earth, and that's how I connect them. And so, when I guide people, they're already relaxed in a suggestive state. So then I clear their chakras out, and then I ask them what color they want it to be replaced with, and they'll give me a color, and then I'll walk them through the color and recharge everything, and then break that free, and then I'll take them through another meditation that gets their chakras aligned and then get the energy running, and I have them feel that energy running through their body, and I make them sit there and feel that, and when they're done with that experience, they don't question me about anything.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense because it's like, well, I don't know what you did, but you did it and it feels good. So I'm going
Yeah.
to roll with it. And
Yeah,
sometimes that's the
if you
best
can
thing to
give
do.
people an experience, then I think it's better for their own understanding.
Yeah. Yeah. Because sometimes, you do have to, I'll put it this way: seeing is believing. Yeah.
Hmm.
I think that's a good way to
And the
put it.
point that when they come to me, like when people come to me, they're ready for change. Like they've done therapy already in the past and it hasn't worked, and they've been to like rehab, or they've, already worked on stuff, but then they come to me because they're still having issues or symptoms or triggers or whatever. And usually I find that some of the work has been done, but it's not been completely done because they're still having like in the body type of reliving. And so then I start taking them through stuff. So at that point, they're ready for change. And I think that they're just ready and open for whatever it is that I say that I'm going to do with them. But I have had clients come in that were skeptical. And even with parts work, they feel real silly in the beginning. It does. It feels a little silly, like thinking about you have parts in yourself. But then once they start showing up and everything, and we do it a few times, then they see and they feel, and when the conflict is resolved, they see the difference, and then I think they just become a little bit more open and trusting. And I think that's one of the main things, is when people, they're not ready or they're skeptical, it's because they don't trust it. And so you just, again, build that therapeutic alliance with a person. Make sure you're very comfortable with your therapist or your doctor. And if you're not, then start looking for someone else that can accept you and be open with you like you would expect a doctor or a therapist to be, because that just means that person's not the right fit for you.
And that's something that's very powerful as well, remembering that you have choice. You can
Yes,
choose. It's nothing that says I have to stick with this person and I'm going to stick with them, even though they're giving you terrible advice and they're a prick and they don't fully understand you. Yeah.
that's right.
So,
That's right. No, absolutely. I'm agreeing with you. Sorry. I know you got headphones on. I'm trying not to yell, but
oh, no, no,
yes.
no. Yell away. Don't worry. Volume's good. That's right. Darn it. Girl.
Yes, if you are not happy with your doctor, I don't care if you had to doctor jump 3 people until you found someone that you liked and you could connect with. Your care is important, and nobody else is going to advocate for you like yourself. Maybe your spouse will, maybe your parent will, maybe not. But if you're not comfortable with whoever it is that you're going to see for any kind of care, especially therapy, because that therapeutic alliance is everything, find someone else, and don't feel bad about it either. And you don't need to give them a reason either.
Yeah, just go. Like, thank you, but
You're
no
fine.
thank you.
Thank you. It didn't work out.
Yeah. This, of course, sometimes that's easier said than done, but, if you have to bring a friend, bring a friend to do it.
Yeah, or send an email. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but don't sabotage your needs to make someone else feel comfortable. We don't do that anymore. That's 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, maybe even 90s. We stop that now.
So here's another interesting one for you. When is too much too much, and you have to back away? So I want to take this from two ways. First, your personal way, like when it's like, okay, I got to stop. I need to just shut down. And for I guess more general for people who might be overwhelmed and they don't even realize it.
So you're asking me what to do when you get in shutdown mode,
Yeah,
immobilized?
so what do you do, and what would
Hmm.
you advise for people that it's happening to?
I I I look for Nate. That's the first thing I do. Is I look for Nate, and he is my person. And I will probably go into the bedroom with no lights or just a red light on, and get under the covers and not come out until I feel better or the situation's over. But for other people, I don't know. I think other people, it looks similar. We just shut down, immobilize. Ooh, comfort food. That's a good one. The most important thing is that you listen to your body. Listen to your body. Okay. So one of the things that I teach in the very beginnings of therapy, and I'll just say this right now, if you think you ever want to come to me for therapy, here's what you do. I want you to learn Polyvagal Theory. Okay. Do this book. Buy this book. Read it and do the exercises in this book, because this book will help you learn about and to regulate your nervous system, which is why you're in dorsal vagal in the first place. Because you are probably running in sympathetic for so long that you're not able to get out of it, which means that you're running in sympathetic dorsal the whole time. Is sympathetic and then shutting down, and then activated and then shutting down. This is the cycle for some people, unfortunately. But so you have to listen to your body, and you have to learn how to regulate that nervous system and understand why you are there. Some people go there and they don't really know why. But if you know why you're there, then you can start taking steps to either prepare when you have a depression cycle coming and you know that it's going to happen, or not go there as often. See what I'm saying? So sometimes your body will say, I need a bath, or I have to go get a massage. I should go get a massage. That would help me relax. But I don't know if I should because I don't know. It will cost too much money or whatever. I don't take a bath or get a heating pad. I don't know. It's like, it's hard to say because it's, what does your body say it needs? What does your body say, Melvin? What does your body say it needs when it gets overwhelmed?
Oh, well, that's the problem. I don't usually get overwhelmed. And the reason for that is because I'm fairly grounded and I don't take anything too seriously. So I can't
So
tell you.
that's your defense mechanism then, is that you don't take things very seriously. So what happens when things get really serious? Do you
Oh,
get
I
overwhelmed really quickly?
well, it would have to depend. But stop psychoanalyzing me, darn it.
Well, I just wanted to see, like, what do some people do out in the chat that when you shut down, what are some things you do? I bet you'll see things like, I'll eat ice cream, I'll eat pizza, some type of comfort food. I'll sit in my bed under the covers. They've got these things on Etsy that God, these pillows are huge. They're like these big things, and you open it up and you can climb inside. It's like a kangaroo pouch.
Oh shoot.
And that would make me feel very safe,
Mhm.
just being like closed in,
Well, that almost feels like it's instinctual. Um,
right?
like you're
Yeah.
in someone's arms. I have to say this real quick. So, Jurian is asking, what's the name of the book again? So, if you can
Oh,
share that with us.
Deb Dana, this is the Polyvagal Theory.
So there you go. You look like a model. Go ahead. And here we have the Polygonal Theory. You can find it on Amazon and perhaps even eBay for about $25, $30. It could all be yours. So, and Eldoria Crow is saying, "Hi, Scarlett."
Hey, Mama.
So, but yeah, I just wanted to say that real quick because, well, it was here. Oh, and Jennifer Vatsa just
Oh,
informed
hello
us
again. Hi.
it is also on Audible. So it's an audiobook as well.
Oh, excellent. Yes. Thank you.
So there you go. Helpful people. Thank you so much. But to go back, because I don't want to be a prick, I will say this. If I get like just in panicky mode or stress out or whatever,
Okay.
I just walk away from everything. A
That's
vagina
the
pillow.
that's
I'm
that's
sorry.
it.
That's
That's the shutdown.
wait a second. Eldoria Crow just said a vagina pillow.
Yeah, it did. It does. It looks like a big vagina. I didn't want to say it, but it kind of does look like a vagina if you put it up, if you felt, because it's like, it's like a sack. It's a bean. I don't know. Yeah. I can see where she got that from because you open it and it looks like a vulva shape. Hey, you know what? It's comforting. Okay. So put me in the vagina. Okay.
I mean,
I
everyone
will.
likes it, so why not?
Okay.
Um, but but yeah, so I tend to just walk away. So, you guys deal with that. I'm not in it.
You dissociate from it. That
Yeah.
is the shutdown. That's the immobilization feature.
Um.
Melvin.
So, oh, you're not weak, Brittany. You're not weak. Don't say you're weak. And Nina the Mystic says hello.
Hi, Nina. How you doing?
So this is something that, again, an observation because I don't consider myself in the quote unquote magic community or anything like that. I'm just on the outside like a renegade. But sometimes I think people get too involved, too into it to where it can become an addiction. Would you agree with that?
Get too involved with the occult?
With the occult, with magic, spell work, to where
I don't
I'm
know if I'd say an addiction, but
mhm,
definitely an obsession.
obsession. Okay. I mean, and you know, I get devoting your life to it and everything because it requires devotion. You have to be devoted to it. You can't just half do something. But, sometimes I believe people lose themselves in reality.
They do.
And
If you do ritual
from
too much, Like if you're doing rituals every night for clients, say you're doing 4 rituals in a day every night for clients over time. If you don't disattach from things, it's definitely going to affect you, because you're not really going to be able to tell what's real and what's not. And in a sense, I'm not saying that people are going to like lose all sense of reality, but what happens is that it takes a time for your body to readjust from meditative states. And so if you're dropping down to meditation and you're not allowing for enough time to come out and to recover, because you're not just meditating, you're dropping down into a meditative state, and then you're doing work, which is a higher level of functioning in the brain. When you get into those theta gamma syncs, it takes a lot for the brain to be in a meditative state, but also be conscious at the same time and not go to sleep. And so people are often very exhausted when they come out of ritual. Sometimes you get headaches, sometimes you get body aches, because you're depleting a lot of different neurochemicals. The mind is not meant to work like that 24/7. So if it is, then it's going to overcome and adapt. That's what the body does. It always wants to be at a homeostasis. So if that means that you no longer know the difference between reality and non-reality because you've spent too much time intertwining and not giving yourself enough time to readjust back into normalcy, then yeah, it can affect you in a bunch of different ways. And one of them being just always kind of in a magical space, I guess you could say nicely.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I mean, yeah, much better than what I would say. So we'll go with what you said. Uh,
Too much of a good thing.
Yeah.
That's what that is. And your body can't regulate back. And so you're basically making a new standard of normal for the body, and it will adapt for you. That's where you have to have the discipline to know what your limits are.
But then, of course, there are people, they're going to push those limits.
Sure. Because then you'll get some people saying, well, that's what the black magic is for, is to push your limits. Okay, well, and that's that you just proved my whole statement about working with darker currents rather than the lighter ones. They will give you the room. They will give you enough room, but they're not going to tell you when the cliff ends. You work with the lighter entities, they're going to give you enough room, and they're also going to shine a light to tell you where this area may or may not be questionable.
Yeah, don't do it, stupid.
So it's.
But but here's the thing: it's tough love.
I guess
part
so.
of it is tough love,
because people don't come back from that.
But they're also getting what they want. So. No risk, no reward.
You're right.
And
say, right?
And if you're trying to break through your limits, there is a risk involved. But if you are able to come back from it, if you are able to break it, then you're going to see things so much differently. And it's a totally different feeling.
Exactly. And so don't be surprised if there's some people that just can't fucking hang. Whether it's good or it's bad, you're going to either grow out people, or they're just not going to continue to see things the way you do, and that's okay. And you got to learn to let them go.
Yeah,
people will grow with you that are meant to be on the path with you.
I'm going to quote Curtis here and say, "You can't cross the abyss. You don't make it. You have to have holiness to make it across the abyss." So there we go.
Holiness? What do you mean holy?
It doesn't
How do you
mean
get that?
It doesn't mean holiness like super divine and stuff like that, but be whole as one. Know yourself in order to actually cross.
See, and then you say that, and then I'll start talking about parts work. Know thyself. Hey, that should be my motto.
Know thyself. So, actually, yeah, go ahead and steal that. That would be a good one. Know thyself.
That might actually work.
That can work. I would, yeah, you're
Well,
welcome.
thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So, uh, here's another one for you. I got my notes here, my little cheat
Good. I
sheets.
love that. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, if I didn't have this, I'd just be
I
like,
know, me too. I'd be unfocused.
but do you feel that some deities take advantage of the more weak-minded people, like maybe to use them for energy or just like, I don't know. I don't know what they do,
Yes, I
but
believe that it's
yeah.
possible. I do feel that there are some people that end up being the sacrifice instead of, and they just seem to be more of a victim rather than anything ascending.
Mhm.
I do believe it's possible, but do I have like some type of knowledge on it? I don't. I think each individual's person's. I think everyone's path is so individualized and specific to them that they're the only ones that can really comment on that. And that would be like a survey question that we would have to do among the occult community to really understand and know. Do you feel like you've been a victim of your deity? I guess, but
And
it's. I know that there's some people you can see like life just keeps happening to them,
mhm.
and that could be an indication of something.
Now, what's interesting is if you do a survey, everyone's going to lie.
I know.
Everyone's going to lie because they're all going to say, "I'm in control." Are you really?
I know, right? So isn't that an interesting observation?
So, well, again, it
Can't
goes
even give a
back,
survey out to a community of supposedly enlightened individuals
yeah,
and hope that they won't lie to us.
and they're all going to lie because it goes back to looking powerful and the theatrics a little bit. You can't look weak, even
We have
if,
we have all been the sacrificial goat or baby. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. It's the end of the stick. I don't know. For at one time in our life, we've done a working and it just didn't work. And so what does that mean? It means that all that energy, all that time, all the blood that's been spilt, or the whatever other substance that you may use for evocation or offering or whatever, and the spell doesn't work. I mean, that's a sacrifice of your time right there. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to get killed or anything like that, but it didn't work, and you're like, fuck, this is why it didn't work.
yeah.
You just gave a sacrificial ritual, whatever, to that deity. A part of yourself went into that, and they took it. And, so we've all been there, I think.
Now, on the flip side, though, you can also see it as a learning experience. And it's like, be
Definitely.
careful what you offer. Not every entity, deity, energy, spirit, whatever you want to call them, is worth your time.
That is correct.
So,
And
and
that is why you need to consult with them first, right?
I mean, because if there's a schmuck and he's like, I need you to do this, this, and this, and I'm going to give you this, this, and this, but I don't work that, although you're still going to give me this, sure, why not? Yoink. Have a nice day. See you in the nether realm or wherever, you know.
People have to be careful because, they don't take the time to do the work that's respectful in pulling up that entity. And if you just pick a sigil out of the hat and then try to do it, you might have success. I don't know. But more than often, you probably won't because you haven't taken the time to get to know anything about you haven't created the proper link, is basically what I'm trying to say,
Yeah.
between you and that demonic or
And
entity.
this is going to take us to something else too, because this is, I've spoken to a few people about this, and they said that when certain rituals didn't work or trying to connect with certain entities, whatever it may be, they felt a blowback and it actually frightened them. And it created a type of trauma for them to where it took them a while to get back into it, to try again. So, how do you handle trauma from a failed ritual or connecting with something beyond?
Slowly. Slowly. I mean, either people are going to leave after that. They're going to be like, fuck this. Sorry for that language, but they're
Oh
going to
no,
be
curse
like,
away.
big F that. And that's it. That's going to be the end of it for them. They may try to dabble again later in life, but then probably will get hit with another spank on the butt. But I've had that happen. I've had workings go awry and erupt chaos in my life, especially when I was like younger in my 20s. Yeah, that happens. You have to just ask the entity why, and they'll tell you. Maybe it was, well, you knew that you weren't supposed to do this, but you went ahead and did it anyway, even though I tried to tell you not to fucking do it. Or it will be something of, you forgot one step, or you jumped the gun, or your emotion in that moment wasn't directed at the true intent that you were speaking. It was directed at another intent. And that's the true intent that will take place. So you have to really make sure that the work that you're doing is very finely tuned, because you don't want to end up in a situation where you are regretting what you wished for, or you're stuck in a position where you're like, I didn't think that it would go that way. Well, guess what? It doesn't matter. You got to think of it as, if I put this into the hands, how I'm explaining it, into a whole different person, would they see it the same way I did? And you have to expect that they won't. And look and say, how can this person or deity or entity, how can they interpret this? What are the many ways that I could go? What are the 1,000 ways that I could die from this spell? And redefine what you're asking for, because a lot of times it's too general, or it's asking too many things. One thing at a time. And make it be very specific. Don't leave room for it to go awry.
You don't want a monkey paw situation, or actually a better example would be working with a jinn, like the
Yes.
real genie.
Yes,
And
no, both of those are exactly correct. People will go work with jinn without doing enough study on the jinn, and then wonder why they're fucked.
yeah, I would not recommend working with jinn, especially if you don't know their history. And is that a dog next to you?
Yeah, that's my baby.
Oh, bring him up. You gotta say hi.
Let me see if
All right.
I can get him. There we go. Thor, look
Oh,
at
don't
me.
be
Stop
camera
looking
shy.
at me in the mirror. Come here, look at me. Hi, the baby.
Look
There
at
he is.
him.
That's my baby. That's my boy. He is the best dog that I've ever had. And I think you can see my other cat, Felix. He's a giant Maine Coon. He's like 16 pounds. I guess
Oh
that's not
wow.
giant for a Maine Coon, but
Well,
it's
yeah,
big.
Maine Coons are big cats, but I love the name Felix the cat, the most wonderful,
Yeah,
wonderful cat.
yeah.
So, oh, I think I just aged myself.
No, I know who Felix the cat is.
Well,
I
I
know who
know you
the cat
know, but other people are like, "What's a Felix and why is it a cat?"
is. Yeah,
So, um, but yeah, I love animals, so I'm a big animal
me
lover.
too.
My cat is the typical cat. She's just sleep on the back of the couch. So,
Aw.
yeah. So okay, back to the trauma thing, and
Yeah.
wow, you dealt with it. So how long did it take for you to heal from that, or even understand it?
Ooh, a long time. I mean, I've had a lot of things happen to me. So it depends upon like what you're thinking about. Like, I didn't really start doing any work for my childhood stuff until 2016 is when I even realized that I had childhood stuff that I had to work on.
Mm.
So, I mean, that was what is that, 5 years ago, right? 6 years ago. So I was like 40, and I mean, I'm 40, just realizing that I have childhood stuff that I have to work through. And I mean, even since that time, the revelations and everything that I've learned about myself has been incredible. And, you learn an amazing amount of compassion for yourself. And that, I believe, is one of the reasons why people are so impatient. If you find that you lack patience, I bet you it's because you also lack compassion for yourself. And when we practice compassion and acceptance with ourselves, it gets easier to accept the harder days that we have. So I think that was one of the first things that I really learned. But then knowing that I had to go and do some EMDR therapy for whatever it was that I needed to work on. But I started doing therapy when I was younger. There was a psychiatrist that I went to in my high school that was there for a few years. And she helped me a lot with some other teenage traumas that I had. But I guess that's really where it started. But I wasn't even admitting to myself that I had childhood stuff that I had to deal with or was still dealing with at that time.
Yeah, and that's hard too, though, because if it is childhood, you might think it's normal. Everyone went through this. It's normal, right?
That's the tolerance.
Yeah.
That's the tolerance, right? That everyone is so, that people don't understand. I was talking about this on Malice. When you grow up with things, you think it's normal. And so you don't recognize it, or you have a tolerance for that type of behavior, that type of abusive behavior, and that carries over into everything.
And this is a good segue into this. In the modern world, we've seen people, I like to think we're becoming more acceptance of everyone for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
But along with this, I think it comes a sensitivity to where it's like maybe people are being overly sensitive. Well, what do you think about that? Are we becoming too sensitive about every freaking thing?
I think that different people are being triggered by things that are being brought up as oversensitive. I think that there's some people that still have a dominant discourse that enables them to be tolerant of certain types of abusive behavior. And so they're not really seeing it as a problem and saying that they should just get on and get over with it. But there's other people where those specific types of behaviors have seriously affected them. And so having this brought up for the first time makes them feel incredibly validated. And so they're going to fight in order for this particular thing to be broadcast and known, because it's how they've been feeling their entire life. And for the first time, it's got a voice. It's two sides of the spectrum. And it's people that were once stuck in the middle to learn and survive in their particular environments. And then when different avenues or aspects of abuse that we've been dealing with and not saying anything about over the past 30, 40 years, starting like in the late 60s and up, that it's just going to take time for people not to feel like they have to have this loyalty to the aggressor and defend certain behaviors that they feel might make them a bad person, on top of other people that are trying to get their voice heard now that they know that there's numbers and it's clashing. No. And that's just where we are at right now.
Now, here's something that I don't think there's actually an answer to, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Is there a winner and a loser of this? Is there a side that is right and one that is wrong?
No. There's no right or wrong side. They're both fighting in a state of survival, and you can't rationalize that when it's in that state. You can't negotiate it when it's in that type of state, because it's a sympathetic alert survival state. So there's no negotiation. There's only rigidity in the beliefs in that moment. The only way that there's going to be a win is if both sides can calm down and see the situation and see why each one of them is really fighting the way that they are. I think what will happen is that the people that are loyal to the aggressor, when they don't feel attacked and have a moment to just breathe and open their mind for a moment, maybe they'll be able to understand why some of these events or points of humanity are important to different people. It takes understanding and it takes compassion and it takes patience. And without those things, there cannot be any communication. And I guess basically what I'm saying is that both sides are fighting and in survival, and there's no communication. So the only way that situation is going to resolve itself, the conflict is going to resolve itself, is if both parties are ready to just take a moment and hear each other without taking it personally and getting triggered, which is very difficult to do is if you hold a lot of trauma.
Yeah. And the key thing, though, you said communication. And I would also add walking in one another's shoes. We have to understand each side to be able to communicate, and we have to experience what the other person experienced, which is impossible. I don't think anyone's going to set up some type of simulation like, all right, get in there now. It would be interesting. That's for sure. It actually makes me think of, it was a TV show where they did experiments where they had a white person be a black person for a day and vice versa. It was very interesting, and it brought understanding that just didn't exist before, and it
Yeah.
opened that door for communication. Like, oh shoot, okay, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Yeah. And I think that's wonderful. I have family members that I can't talk about this stuff with because the understanding's not there. And no matter how hard you try, sometimes the understanding's just not there. And that's my tolerance, right? I'm tolerating that there's just not that understanding. And so I just can't go there. And I have to know that this person holds that type of belief. And some people will make the decision to, even if it's your mom or your dad, to kick those people out of your life because they can't tolerate. It's just about what you can tolerate, right?
mm-hmm.
And what you're willing to put up with. But in that tolerance, I think people should understand, at least if they're going to be having to tolerate, that it's okay to not agree with what you're being asked to tolerate. So if you have a parent that uses the N word or other, the S, I don't know if people would know what I'm talking about, the S word, but it's like the Hispanic slur or an F slur or something like that. You either are going to cut that person out or you're going to have this tolerance, but knowing that you have this tolerance, that you don't agree with it. And you might even say, please don't speak like that when I'm around. And because there's no way to change their mind. So either you have to make that decision, either you're going to cut that person out or you're going to be tolerant, but don't feel like you have to agree with that tolerance. That's my point.
Yeah. And
know that you can be an individual.
And also I have to add on to that because a lot of people, they get into arguments over this, which is stupid, but you don't have to agree and have an argument. You can disagree with someone and still like them.
Absolutely.
I disagree with a lot of people, but I still love them to death. So,
yeah. And you have the right to disagree and not like them too. And that's okay. Like you can like them or not like them, but you can definitely disagree with somebody and still be friends with them. Absolutely.
Yeah. So nothing wrong with that. My best friend in the world. Like we've known each other we've been friends, known each other for, I'm going to age myself again, but, 22 years. And, he's Christian. I'm not. I'm tall. He's short. And, we have tons of disagreement, especially over Batman, but we're best friends. I wouldn't change him for the world. And my cat is coming over.
That's
Oh,
okay.
oh, wait, no, maybe she's not. She stopped and paused because I said something. There
She's
she
behind you
is.
now. She's beautiful. She's
She's.
cute.
What are you doing? You're gonna leave, or you're leaving? Okay, bye bye.
But a lot of these things are really up to the individual. It's hard for me to like say or draw a line or say what I think you should do, because it's really different for each individual. Nobody's ever the same. Even like how things may interact between me and another person, or ideas for an imaginal repair or something. It's always different. It's always what is going on in the moment. And so I think that the biggest takeaway from all of this is that put your needs first, especially if you've been putting other people's needs before your own for a long time. Put your needs first and see where you're at, and find your identity, and know that it's okay to not agree with someone, or if you need to put up a boundary, do what makes you feel safe and secure and protected, and stop allowing other people to tell you how to do what you need for yourself. Just connect with you and yourself and the parts, and see what it is that you need to do. Take out of the equation how other people would be affected, or like how they would agree or disagree for the moment, and just see what it is that you need. Like, what is a baseline that you need, and without restrictions, without money attached, or without opinions. Just see what it is that your body needs to feel protected and secure. And then go from there and see how you can make that happen, and see what things are in your control and what things are not in your control, and maybe ways to get around that. It's people need to start planning. If you're holding trauma, then start planning for your own needs. And
Uh,
that's going to be a very odd feeling for
so
people that usually
y-
don't.
you pretty much covered the final question I was going to ask, our closer. So no need for that. Instead, we're gonna, because it's time to end, but we're gonna end on a little bit of a silly, fun note. And since you said you're a Taurus, are you April or May?
I'm May, actually. My birthday is tomorrow.
Oh, well, happy early birthday.
Thank you.
So, what type of cake are you getting?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure. Probably an
Nate.
ice cream cake.
Oh, ice cream. Well, Nate surprised her. I want like something with blood dripping out of it and a heartbeat. Yeah, Curtis just said it.
Yeah,
Red velvet. That's what I
that's
had.
actually what I usually get, is a red
That's
velvet
so
cake.
funny.
Yeah.
That's what I get.
Or
That
or straw. I usually get like a strawberry ice cream with red velvet cake.
Yeah,
I love it.
that's usually what I get. I like Blue Bunny, strawberry cheesecake ice cream, or
Mhm.
cherry cheesecake, and I always get a red
Mhm.
velvet cake. That is my favorite cake in the world.
You should get a cherry cheesecake from Junior's in Brooklyn.
I will have to look them up. It sounds expensive.
It will be worth it. It will
Okay,
be worth it.
so everyone is saying happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
So red velvet reminds me of death. Oh gosh, Kayla. Okay, wow. All right. So what is your go-to comfort meal when you are just done with everything, you need to relax and enjoy something?
Cold Stone strawberry ice cream with yellow cake and whipped cream.
Oh, yum. I haven't had Cold Stone in years. So, I oh man, gonna get hungry. Um so my comfort, well, I always eat. That's the problem. I can't pick something because I'm always eating something.
Mhm.
But the best gosh darn burgers in LA, and I will fight anyone who says otherwise. Hawkins. You can get their
Mm,
triple cheeseburger with avocado, jalapenos, pickles, mushrooms. Oh man, stuff's to die for.
that sounds delicious.
Oh yeah. So I think on that note is where we will end. Scarlett,
Right.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
No, thank you for coming on and having this talk with us. It was great.
Yes, you're welcome. Anytime.
And That said, remember, guys, there are things that go bump in the night. Go ahead and tell them hi. Bye, everybody.